All right, welcome to another episode of Another Bourbon Show. Tonight we are, we're not doing a month of Black History Month. We're doing a week of Black History Month. But that's mostly because of poor planning on our part, not for any other reason. But we wanted to expose people, if they're not familiar, we want to expose them to this one right here. Uncle Nearest, 1856, right here. We have done 1884, the white label, previously, but we've never done the 1856. And this was actually the Uncle Nearest product that I first tried, the very first one I ever had. So we thought we would give this one a go. But before we do anything, oh, you know what? Let me tell you about this one. It's 100 proof. It is their premium small batch blend. It'll run you about 55, 56 bucks, somewhere in there. And it has become much more readily available than it was 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we did the 1884. It's become a much more easy to find product. Should I do the story of who Uncle Nearest was?
Yeah, do it again real quick, I think.
Okay, just real quick, Uncle Nearest Green, he is a former slave. He got his freedom after the end of the Civil War. He's the guy who taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey. And that's no shit. He taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey. Uncle Nearest and Jack Daniels had a very close relationship. I think everybody back in 1865 to 1875 Tennessee knew that a black man could not start his own whiskey company. So it was a good relationship. And Jack Daniels was never hesitated to talk about how important Uncle Nearest was to the distillery. So that's who Uncle Nearest was. Now it's one thing I really just have to say is this company does a tremendous job of staying connected with Uncle Nearest Green's current family, to the point there's a woman in St. Louis who is a descendant of Uncle Nearest, and they travel, like they bring her down to the distillery on a regular basis, keep her involved in business decisions. And it's the same way. Every year they have a family reunion down at the Uncle Nearest distillery. And it's so they're doing good things. And it is a black owned distillery. The master distiller is black. The master blender is black. It's a very proud black distillery, and they put out some just amazing whiskey, in my opinion. So that's the story on what we're drinking tonight. Before we do anything else, though, Steven, what do you think of that label? Can you see it okay?
Yeah, and I'm familiar with this label. I've seen it a lot. I think it's just a personal preference thing, but I think that the white label looks a little bit better, like color scheme wise.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite examples of the white and gold type labels. It's a very elegant label, I think is the way to say it. And that's why I didn't know at the time. This is a couple years back now, but I picked up a bottle of the Uncle Nearest 1884 before I knew any of the backstory about Uncle Nearest, or before I knew even which one was the difference between the two, just because I liked that aesthetic better. And I think even now that's still my opinion. I think the original, or not the original, but the white label looks like it is a storybook page or something. It looks like a very nicely illustrated page. Like the quality of that material that it's made out of is just really nice. It's a nice feeling label and everything. I just don't like the colors as much. Particularly, I think it's mainly the red band on the Uncle Nearest 1856 that just kind of sticks out to me. If that was also black, I think I would like it a little bit more as sort of like a contrast to the other one. Anyway, that's all.
Or gold. I think gold would look even better.
Or gold, yeah. And I know that they have some others. I'm not intimately familiar with some of their limited releases.
This is their 1820.
Yeah.
That's a single barrel aged 11 years.
So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the Eve's Blind Uncle Nearest right there.
This one is I don't think they're producing this one anymore. It's wicked hard to acquire, but
Wicked hard.
Wicked hard.
Either way, I'm going to give it a 7 because I think it's
this one's a 7.
It's a 7, and I don't know. I didn't look it up ahead of time, but I think the other one's probably about a 7 as well. I think it's just it's a really nice looking label, a clean, simple label. I don't know that I love.
What's this one?
I'll probably give that one a 7 too. Honestly, okay. I probably wouldn't switch it. I like them all well enough. I have personal preferences that adjust them a little bit here and there. I don't know that I love calling the product a year. I don't know that it rolls off the tongue. This is not so much label speak at this point. It's just kind of I don't love that naming scheme. It's hard to keep dates in people's minds, I think. It's a common thing to forget. And to rely on a date to be your name, I think is a little weird, even though I get it.
So I'm certain that the dates signify something.
Right.
What? I don't know. I'll be honest, I've never even looked it up. 1820, maybe the year he was born. 1856.
His wedding, maybe. Or
could be.
Anything.
Yeah.
I'm
84,
sure
I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm sure they're significant. I should look that up.
I just feel like people forget their wedding date is significant or their anniversary, you know what I mean? And people forget those dates, or like your, kid's birthday. Like there's all these dates you have to keep in mind that I feel like is a common thing that people are not good with.
Stephen, if you think that all of those things you just listed are common, then you need to schedule more appointments with your therapist because, okay.
I just know that people are bad with dates, or like, well, she's the one in the relationship, or he's the one in the relationship that remembers those kind of things. It's like calling the name of a whiskey being like, oh, my girlfriend's the lady at work in HR she's always talking about. It's like, you're never going to remember that fucking name. You know what I mean?
I don't even remember my age now. Like, I never thought I'd get to that point. Like, oh, how do you forget your age? But I'm like, I think I'm 32. Like, oh shit, no, I'm 31. I'm not 32 yet. Shit happens probably once a week to me.
Yeah, and you remember them based on like milestones or like significant things that happen, and then once you get past, like, I'm just waiting until I can run for president, and then that's the last thing we got to look forward to.
I hear it's a great job.
Yeah, everybody wants it.
Hey Ryan, anything you want to add?
I like the the contrast compared to the white one. I think it's really cool. I don't want to say it's like an homage to, it could be like their friendship, Jack Daniels and Uncle Nearest, with that black label, but I imagine it's just probably a color contrast against the white. But I like it. I think the amber color of the whiskey makes it stand out.
Yeah. I think that it's a sharp label, like all three of them, and everything that Uncle Nearest products, all Uncle Nearest products, I think have a really sharp label, and a very interesting bottle shape too. Like the only thing that I can think of that has, it might be, like from memory, it might be identical, and that's Bird Dog, the shitty flavored whiskeys.
Oh,
okay. I didn't know that they were.
Settle down with that. Why don't we settle down with that, all right, dude?
Sorry, bro. It's not on purpose.
I don't think that bottle's as tall though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little.
The Bird Dog's taller. Maybe?
It's no. I think the Bird Dog's a little shorter than the Uncle Nearest and slimmer. The Bird Dog kind of reminiscent, not of like. It kind of reminds me more of a hybrid between like Uncle Nearest and then how the Woodford bottle used to look.
Yeah.
Shorter and stumpier. So Uncle Nearest is definitely taller and slender. compared to,
So-
but definitely similar.
And the Uncle Nearest is, to me, it's like they started off with, we really like the Elijah Craig bottle, but we wanted to have more defined corners.
Yeah.
That's kind of what, but I think they're very sharp labels, very interesting bottle designs.
It's not a generic bottle. Like,
Not a generic bottle.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not some crazy shape or anything, but I was gonna say I think it's one of the best bottles in my opinion because it's so balanced and like
Yeah.
the weight, it feels really good in the hands. And there's some bottles that it feels like like the long skinny bottles, whenever you get a little ways down in that bottle, picking it up off the shelf, it just feels way different.
Yeah.
like picking up a Yellowstone bottle, it feels like it's just going to fall over.
Yeah.
The quality of the glass and the way it's spread out throughout it never really feels that much different taking it off the shelf.
Mhm.
Also, do you know Fistful of Bourbon? You
Yeah.
familiar with that, Dan?
Uh-huh.
That has a similar-ish shape too. It's almost a
You're
cross
right.
between that and like Woodford.
Yeah.
Great whiskey. Good call, Steven. Good call.
But what do you say we dive in and drink a little?
Let's do it.
Cheers.
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 So again, this is 100 proof. It is not bottled in bond, but it is 100 proof. The 1884 is 94 proof.
Yeah, that's like a really good like vanilla bean ice cream smell to it.
Yeah, I get a lot of vanilla, just a lot of really gentle sweetness.
It's reminiscent to me. If you take out if you muted the peanut notes, it's very similar to me to like Jim Beam White Label on the nose.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because it's very light, but welcome, sort of vanilla-y, typical bourbon kind of smell.
I get some spices on the nose
I know
too.
it's not bourbon. Just want to say before I get fucking.
I'm not the one who's going to do that to you.
Yeah. I think I can say bourbon notes, even if something isn't bourbon. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a great nose. I mean, real sweet. You do get some of those baking spices, but almost plays off like a toasted whiskey too.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah, I can see that.
Notes. Yeah.
I get a lot of Beam nose. I even think that the peanut note is still there. Like I said, I think it's just muted, but I do pick up a lot of the similar stuff that I pick up in like Legent, for instance.
Well, I'm going to sip it.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
A lot more baking spices compared to the nose, I feel like.
I mean, I think this stuff is just candy. It's just absolutely decadent. Like there's no harshness to this whatsoever.
No.
And the flavors that you get, like in the mouth, it's not harsh at all. It's super easy to sip. It's gentle. But then, like, I swallow it, and the complexities of the finish, of going from one note to the next note to the next note, all with a nice gentle hug, is just like, it's just fucking good.
Very layered.
Yeah.
You know, very layered.
Yeah. I think on the finish, there's the vanilla comes out a little more again, and I almost think it comes out in the like a frosting like tone, because it's almost like there's a whipped like airy lightness to it, but still rich.
So it's funny that you said like a frosting, because I've been trying to decide like one particular part of the flavor on the finish, and all I could come up with was like a nougat flavor from a candy bar, and that's all I like. So I can see frosting as well. But I think you and I are talking about the exact same thing, just describing it slightly different.
Yeah.
And there is some nuttiness to it.
Yeah.
And I think that the most prominent part to me is the finish. And there's not a lot of warmth to it, and it's not a super long finish, but it's almost like when I first sip this, it doesn't right away even taste like anything. The first, like, the first moment that it hits your mouth or whatever, it's not one of those that your tongue goes numb or you get this rush of flavors. It's almost like a shy whiskey. I think I called Uncle Nearest 1884. I think I called that one almost like a cider of whiskey. And I think this is something similar where it's just like it's I said this about a recent whiskey too, but it's almost refreshing,
Mm-hmm.
Some toasted almonds like around Christmas time too. I get a little of that on the nuttiness side. It's layered. It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, when I first take a sip and it hits my tongue, I know this sounds dumb. I know it does, but it tastes wet. It's just like you get the sensation of liquid being in your mouth, but there's nothing like there's a little bit of sweetness. It's just a very light. I I can't so it's light, but I can't call it thin. Like when I think of thin, I think of like a in regard to whiskey, an 80 proof Jim Beam White Label. That's a thin whiskey. This is not thin, but it's light. There's some sweetness to it when it's in your mouth. There's no burn at all. And then you sip it and you swallow it, and then you get like a flavor explosion in your mouth and down your throat. And yeah, just a nice easy sipping whiskey.
And the lingering mouthfeel I have, like right now, a little while after I've taken my last sip, I can only compare it to like drinking champagne or something. I don't know what exactly that is. Maybe it's just like the mouth like coating that happens or something. But yeah, there's some quality to this where it's like it's kind of a refreshing aftertaste or whatever. It's almost like it's carbonated, but I don't know what that is. But I keep struggling to say it. But it's like kind of like that cider quality that I'm talking about.
I wish it was like 60 degrees and I was on my deck, just sitting there drinking it.
Yeah, and I almost get like an aspect of like a orange citrus flavor to it at the end as well.
Yeah. I think the same things that drew like Ryan and I early on in our drinking careers, if you want to call it that, are
It's been a storied career, dude.
the same things that drew us to like Jack Honey, I think would have drawn us to this if we were aware of it or if it was available at the time, because it's just that same approachable, light. It's just a welcoming taste. I don't know what to say. It's just a welcoming experience all the time.
Yeah. I will say though, I've been surprised. There's been 2 different people that I've recommended this bottle to, and they've told me specifically that they didn't like it. They couldn't describe why they didn't like it, but they did not like it. And I was like, what? Like, how? But I think they're racist personally, but whatever.
Right.
I think, now I don't know who they were, but I can see people raising their nose at this because it's not a bourbon. And again, I don't know that this is a knock against those specific people, but it's not a bourbon and it's under 100 proof.
Well, it's 100 proof.
Oh, okay. I must be thinking of 1884, but being like right there, being like so, even 100 proof, like I feel like people turn their nose up at that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be. Yeah, that very well could be. But I will tell you that I've both times I've been shocked. So, Ryan, you're getting ready to head down to Mexico to get kidnapped tomorrow.
Damn right. Doing 2 days in Guadalajara and 2 days in Puerto Vallarta. So the first 2 days in Guadalajara, we're bouncing around some tequila distilleries. Should be a good time. Staying downtown Guadalajara, I think at like a Hilton or Hyatt or something. And then the last 2 days of the trip's just an all-inclusive. So booked myself a massage for Sunday.
Oh, get that happy ending.
Oh, I'm married. Come on, dude. But yeah, it should be a good time. I'm looking for it'll be a nice little break before Hell Week starts in March.
Yeah.
And good news. I told you guys I slammed my thumb into a car door back in October, right?
Yeah.
The nail finally came off and it's finally grown back. It looks disgusting.
Oh my God,
it's,
dude, Jesus.
But it's coming back,
Hey,
baby.
don't flash at the airport. TSA will pull you over for like a random check or whatever.
Hot boy
Hey,
summer
Ryan.
coming in, baby, with this thumbnail.
So when you get your mani and pedi every other week, do you get a
Right.
discount?
No, I don't go that often. It's like once a
Okay.
month.
Dude, I
But
mean,
I do the shiny
that's not a
buff
slight
on my-
against you.
Yeah.
That's not a slight against you. You could go every other day and I'd be like, fucking good for you. I don't give a shit.
I did get the shiny buff on my fingernails. They're very shiny, but I did make the girl do the bad thumb, so it's all fucked up looking, but it's shiny. She's like cleaning it, and she's like, going a foot back with her back. It's but it looks better.
That's hilarious. I love that.
I'm like, shine that up too.
Shine that up too.
Make it look good.
Oh yeah, damn right. We got went downtown, actually stayed at the Waldorf Astoria in Chicago on Friday. And then we went out to a steakhouse and I got pedicures at the Waldorf because I had through this winery I represent, they gave us like $1,000 spend, like a dine and stay. So
Nice.
stay at any hotel in Chicago, and then you had to go to a restaurant that supports the winery, that has their wine brand. So you have to turn in, your dinner receipt, and it has to show, one of their wines on the receipt.
Yeah.
So we did that. And I will say, a pedicure at Waldorf, it's not as good compared to a standard place. Not nearly as good. I just had the money to spend.
It's more
so
about
I
the
did it.
convenience, right?
Yeah. But I mean, they had paraffin wax, thank God, but like they didn't have the hot stones on my legs.
Nobody goes to the airport to get their shoes shined. It's just like,
Right.
well, while I'm there.
Yeah. So I was gonna do a massage. It was like $250 for an hour. I'm like, we'll do pedicures.
So I've never stayed at the Waldorf in Chicago, but I've stayed at the Waldorf in New York a couple times. And I thought it was overrated.
So I've stayed at the Waldorf New York a couple times too. Chicago one blows it out of the water.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to
It's
hear
just-
that.
Yeah, but the rooms are bigger. Everything's, just
Because so the New York one is the storied one, right? Like that, like when you hear Waldorf Astoria, you think of the New York City one, not Chicago, not the Beverly Hills one. You're thinking of New York.
yeah.
And I never paid to stay at the Waldorf New York, but I stayed there 3 different times. And each time I was just like, I don't know why people are dropping that much fucking coin to stay here. Like,
Yeah.
nice. One of the nicest hotels I've ever stayed at is the Peabody in Memphis. That son of a bitch is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway.
We were part of it too.
They got bathtubs, Dan?
What's up
They got bathtubs there?
in the Peabody?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Waldorf did, and they had these robes, dude. They only had one robe in our room. Someone knocks on your door right away, and they go, "Hey, is there anything else you need?" I'm like, "Bring another robe to the room, please," because there's only one. We took a picture of the tag and everything. It was the most comfortable robe. I mean, I don't wear robes, when I felt it, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be lounging in this for the next 2 days. Fucking awesome. So the robe's only like $75. I think I'm gonna buy one.
Oh,
Do it.
I was gonna say, did one accidentally fall into your luggage whenever you left?
I don't want to get charged like $300 for a $75 robe.
They do that now.
Yeah,
They didn't used to, but they do now.
yeah. But yeah,
I don't know why I felt self-conscious earlier when I told you that I had an Ember mug, because I'm sitting here with a guy who's mulling over a $75 robe purchase. I know who I'm in company with good people here. Well, should we rate? Go ahead and give it a rating.
You took the words literally out of my mouth, Stephen.
Hey, that's what I'm here.
I think we definitely should. Who wants to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go if you want.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
8.7.
Wow.
I'm going 8.7. It is a wonderful sipping bourbon. I could sit here and sip on it and pick out different characteristics and different flavors and just enjoy every goddamn moment of it. Or I could sit here, ignore all of those flavors and characteristics, and have a great conversation with friends. I can do either of those things. I think if I chose to, this could also make for a fantastic mixed drink if I chose to. I think you throw a splash of Coke in this, and it's probably fucking knock you off your socks good. Yeah. I think you make this, like, use this in a old fashioned, it's probably fucking fantastic. I haven't tried it.
How about a Gold Rush?
I bet a Gold Rush, it's goddamn good too.
Yeah. How about a whiskey sour, Dan? What do you think then?
Probably a whiskey sour, dude. Keep them coming. Come on, keep them coming. Let's hear it.
No, I've exhausted all the drinks.
Yeah. What else is there?
The Manhattan, probably a decent Manhattan.
Yeah,
Sazerac.
Sure, why not? Sazerac, sure. Why not? No, but Bouvardier, probably not. No, but anyway. But I think that it's just a really good, well-rounded whiskey. And again, I think that if you want to, you can sit there and pontificate all about the whiskey and how good it is and what different characteristics and the nuanced flavors that you're picking up. Or you can just enjoy it, but it's a great, really, really great sipping whiskey. So that's where I'm at. And for $55 to $60 tops, fuck, you can't go wrong. So that's where I'm at.
Ryan, would you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Dan, you took the score right out of my mouth. 8.7 here as well.
I'll just go ahead and say I'm 8.7 too.
Are we all 8.7?
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. The first like 5 minutes, I'm like, this is an 8.7.
Yeah.
8.6, 8.7. I'm gonna go 8.7. Multi-layered. It's so many, like that toasted oak, the great vanilla smell on the nose, the baking spices. They're doing everything right. Like we said, this is a whiskey you can just sit on the patio in the summer, or if it's like a 50-degree day in the winter, doesn't really matter. Sit on the back porch, enjoy it. I mean, they're doing a lot of good things here, and they've done a great job for being a smaller distillery. I mean, I've seen stacks up in Target. Huge national chain retail distribution is. If you don't get that as a smaller distillery right in the beginning, it takes years and years and years to build up to that. And right out of the gate, they've been producing good juice and making a name for themselves. So yeah, 8.7. I think they're doing all the right things, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going 8.7 as well. I think it's a really, really solid pour, and I wanted the score to reflect that. It is a really fun whiskey. I think there's just not much wrong with it that I can say. I think that it's I think what you're getting at, Dan, is the point that I wanted to stress, which is I think it's a great, not that it's not great on its own, obviously it is with an 8.7, but what I'm going to say about it is I think it's a great building block. for whatever experience you're having. I think that because it's so inoffensive, I think it would pair well with food if you're having a meal with it. I think it would be an underrated, probably, depending on what you want out of it. I think an underrated pairing with a cigar. I think that it's a great campfire whiskey. I think it's a great, like I said, dinner whiskey. Or I think it's just a great, if you're at a bar, having it as a pour there, just on its own. In any situation that you put it in, and I think it's, what is the price again, Dan? Is around $50, 50, $60?
So I pretty much always see it at specifically $56.
Okay.
And I know it's an 1856, but it's pretty much always at $56. And the 1884 is pretty much always at $49.
So I think that the price like puts it right in there where it's okay to have all this as well. Like,
Yep.
I think the entire package is really malleable, and that's one of its strong suits. So yeah, an 8.7 that is great for almost any occasion, whatever you throw at it. I can't speak enough about Uncle Nearest. I've super enjoyed both pours. And before you said that anecdote earlier, Dan, I would have told you that it's another one of those whiskeys that I can't imagine somebody not liking. You just throw it to whoever, give it as a gift or whatever. But really, it's I'm glad that's becoming more of a staple at liquor stores, so that you can get it freely wherever, because it deserves a place, I think, in everybody's shelf. So
I do want to throw out there, though, that something you mentioned, Stephen, is something I've never seen. I have never once seen Uncle Nearest anything at a restaurant or bar. Not once.
yeah.
I have not intentionally tried to find it at a restaurant or a bar either. But I've never been somewhere and been like, oh, there's Uncle Nearest product on this bar menu. Never seen that.
There could be reasons to that, whether that's inventory or kind of the route to market they want to go first. Whether that they might feel like they don't have the distribution or supply to merit on-premise bar distribution, just because they might run out retail. I imagine the bigger they get, they'll start aligning themselves with bigger players in the distribution business, if they haven't already, and you'll start seeing them at bars.
Well,
But-
I also wonder if part of it's because they don't necessarily have the name they still don't necessarily have the name recognition, right? Like, I don't know that there are many people who go to a restaurant and ask the waiter or waitress, "Hey, do y'all have Uncle Nearest?" Like, that's how you know you're successful in the restaurant and bar industry, is people requesting, like, "Hey, do you have this?" And they say yes or no. I don't know that they've reached that level yet. I know that they're loved by whiskey and bourbon drinkers, which is why you see them at liquor stores and Target, those types of places.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they've reached that threshold yet.
And I was going to say, I could see it in the near future being at like trendier places.
Yes.
Being like one of the things that is like they craft their entire cocktail menu around.
Yeah.
Like, especially in Tennessee, I could see a place springing up where it's like, in all of our whiskey drinks, we use Uncle Nearest here.
Yeah.
Outside of craft, though, if I'm like, anywhere Jack Daniels is, I need to be there too, just based on the story,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's good shit. And it's a nice bottle, and it's a unique bottle too.
Yeah, do yourself a favor, pick one up if you haven't already.
And for $56, like, come on.
Oh, one thing we didn't touch on is we did have the 18. We kind of mentioned this, but we had the 1884 on the show before.
Yes.
I think we're probably all the opinion, not just from scores, but spend the extra money and buy the 1856 because it's not much. But also, I still maintain the fact that I don't think you're like like if you only can find the 1884 or somebody gives you a gift of the 1884, you weren't there to say the other one or something, you're not getting scammed there either. That is a great
Nope.
bottle too.
It's a fantastic bottle too. There's a reason why. So the 1884, like it's an unopened bottle, but I've got a brand new unopened bottle, right? Like I keep them both because I prefer the 1856, and I think most people will prefer the 1856. However, this is still a good bottle. They're different. That's the bigger reason for me to having both bottles, is the fact that they're very different. It's the same juice, but only a 7-point proof difference. But that 7 points makes a big difference in what you're drinking, the way it hits you. And it's just different. So yes, I agree. I prefer the 1856, but the 1884 definitely deserves a spot on your shelf also.
Another bourbon show. Another bourbon show. Another bourbon show.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm looking at like our flight from Guadalajara to Puerto Vallarta. I'm doing some research about the airline I was taken down there, and it's like Sunday night, and I'm looking at it. I type in the airline. They ceased operations on the 15th of February. I was like, oh, so I email everyone like this airline's out of business, guys. It's out of business.